So we've become complacent in our relationships with God, and we accept it. We accept where we are. So we want this experience. And from this experience, we want change. No longer do we want to settle for who we are. No longer do we want to settle for where we are. You are exactly where you belong in your relationship with God. Nothing more, nothing less. God makes no mistakes. But there's something else that I have to have so that I can go to the next level. And after I've realized that I've prayed for this thing, I've asked God for this thing some time ago, and still nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, but we know God is exactly who he said he is. All things have a beginning, a place of origin. And the better you understand the origin of a particular thing or a person, the better you understand how to flow in some form of relationship with them. You understand how to leverage them as a resource. You understand how to put yourself aside and be leveraged as a resource. Whether it's a business relationship or a social relationship, it doesn't matter. You better understand how to position yourself. And sometimes it's necessary to reposition yourself, reposition your mindset, reposition your expectations, reposition what you're willing to dish out and what you're willing to receive. And when you're able to accept this, now it's time for growth. Now it's time for things to change, because what has happened over the years is that our generation has moved so far away from our roots that it's okay for us to pull away from God. It's no problem. It's okay for us to conduct ourselves any kind of way. It's okay for us to mistreat those that are older than us. It's fine because we don't have anything to hold on to. We don't have anything to reach back on. It's one thing to open up the Bible and read the Bible and get an understanding of the Bible. It's one thing to open up a history book and read about the Holocaust and read about what it was like to be a slave back then. But it's another thing to travel down south. Go to Washington, D.C., to the Holocaust Museum. Go and sit with the Holocaust survivor. Go further down south to a lynching museum, or better yet, go and do a reenactment of the slave trade and watch your children be sold off. And there's a difference of what you will leave with versus opening up a book, because nothing was free. Everything has a price to it. Nothing is free, even your salvation. God gave his son as a ransom so that we might have the right. So as we try to understand Genesis 1 and how it measures up with man and how does man fit in with Genesis 1, then we can be able to understand how to shift our mindsets. But first you have to accept one thing. You cannot leave here tonight thinking that things are going to remain the same in your life. God moves upon faith. He moves upon what you expect of him. If you don't expect anything, there's no need for him to move. He's not listening to you sob and whine. That's not the God that we serve. You want to get God's attention, do something in faith. God sees faith. When he sees your faith, he moves. So let's take a closer look at Genesis 1 and 1. First thing we need to understand, in Genesis 1 is not the beginning of all things. It is not the beginning of time. It is not the beginning of matter, nor is it the beginning of existence. It's merely the beginning of a physical universe. It's the beginning of creation, a physical creation. It's nothing more than that. But there was a purpose for Genesis 1. The next thing we need to understand is that when you have words like beginning and God in the same sentence, the only way that it can be defined is by the context that surrounds it. Because with God, there is no beginning. Amen. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. If Genesis 1 was taken in its literal sense, it would mean that before Genesis 1 and 1, Jesus was not. The Bible is very clear on who Jesus is. Meaning, whoever Jesus is now is who Jesus was during Genesis 1 and 1. And whoever Jesus was during Genesis 1 and 1 is who he was before Genesis 1 and 1. He's God. He's God all